Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin. Thanks for joining me today on an open box video where we're going to examine the possible grade outcomes of Libertads. Give me Libertads or give me death. And starting off with a coin that we sent in as a double die reverse number 2, which, only the engineer knows exactly where the doubling is and which way it goes on this coin. But we paid the extra money to have it variety checked and added to the label. So me and the engineer have actually not had a chance to powwow about this coin yet because we have to powwow. There is no label for that. And instead, we get this fine note that says, has not been attributed by NGC for the following reasons. Variety is too minor. So this one is interesting because it's not saying whether or not it's the variety. It should say, not the variety, but dun, dun, dun. They do have those as a variety, and we've actually seen several. There's a population of 49 of them in their pop report. So next up is a coin that I don't know how we're going to price. By the way, that first coin came back at 65, had a lot of contact marks on it, and that's a little bit of the baseline for Libertads. You've got to find something that's going to have be generally mark free, and because they come pretty nice. So we got in a tube full of original coins, so we had some pretty nice coins to select. This one was one of the most fascinating. This coin, you can see right here, is splitting, and so that is a huge lamination which is peeling off of the coin. And can I get an edge view? There we go. Cha-chong! Look at that bad boy. Easily one of the nicest laminations I've had on almost any coin. Retained lamination still on there. Really cool piece. Really cool piece. MS65. Much nicer looking coin than the other one actually that we just looked at. Other than this little like scrape mark up here in between Estados and Unidos. Okay. Anyway. Don't know exactly what we're going to do with that bad boy. He's lovely. We may auction him off. We may just price him. Next up, we're going to compare some 1982s. We're going to do some grade reveals here. Once again, looking at groups of coins that we cherry-picked from original paper rolls as the coins that look the nicest. And there is a lot going on here, actually, on this basic design that a lot of people maybe have never really noticed, but super popular, became very popular with US collectors over the last several years. Once again, huge amount of just open luster on this coin, and then you have some noticeable contact marks. On that one, I've got a few of these guys to look at. I was a little bit concerned after we sent all these off because we'd already sent them off, and then our friends over at the Coin Show podcast had a little clip where they sent off an even number of coins to PCGS and NGC that were all the Libertads, and they came back, almost all of them came back at least a point higher in PC holders, and they did not cherry pick them, they just sent them in. This coin I would consider to be decidedly nicer than the first coin, personally. We've got 4 of these 82s we're going to look at. And you can tell me which one you like the best overall. They come with almost an uneven strike. The pattern around the edge of the rim sometimes comes almost completely gone. If you look at how just flat those things are down here on the edge. But then others will, I got my one last one here. But some will have a sharper looking strike. Now this guy's got a couple of big hit marks on it. that are very noticeable. And so this is why when you, but the obverse is really stunning. This is why when you look at coins in the same grade, understand that grading is not linear. Grading is an overall quality. So it's a combination of all of the different effects that you see on a coin, get you to the overall coin grade. And these guys here all came back 66. I'm not mad at that, but the first and the last coin I think were, in my opinion, kind of the ones that had the most obvious hits on them, and the middle two I thought were a little cleaner. And out of all of them, I think that's my favorite on that group. So the 1982 Onzas, they actually have graded like 3,800 of those guys, and you know, those coins in MS66 are probably $50 or $60 type coins. I'm going to get those guys out of the way a little bit as we go through a few 1983s. This one is particularly nice. I think this one is a little bit nicer than the ones we've looked at so far also. Getting back to my story about the Coin Show podcast, I was concerned after I sent all these off to NGC and saw that PCGS, that all their PC coins came back a grade higher. I was like, no. Sometimes we can all be reactionary. Here's another 1984. 1984, they've graded over 3,200. 1984 Libertads, and I've got 4 of them, I think, here to show you. And I think you can tell just in general the quality is a lot higher on a couple of these than on the previous coins we were looking at. You'll see that there are fewer hits on these guys, just in general. One of the things that you also notice is that a lot of these coins have almost like a straight north-south striation on them, and that was on the previous coins as well as these that look like roller marks. So you'll see the lines going up and down behind the arm, and right there, some of those are undoubtedly going to be roller marks. They were on a lot of the coins, and some of them could be die polish if they're thick enough. So these guys were fun. We got a 67 and a 67 and a 66 and a 67. So on those guys, your 66s are probably $50 type coins. Your 7s probably $80, although the toned one probably get a little extra for, probably auction or something like that. You know, over 2,000 of those 3,200 that were graded have been graded 66, and the 67 has a pop of 469 with only 22 finer. So, you know, this is when things like pop reports and overall availability in the marketplace start to rear its, I almost said its ugly head. I don't know that that's ugly. That's so rude. And we're going to look at a few 1985s, and then after that we got a whole bunch of 1993s that came in that we'll talk about. Once again, we did try to pick the ones that we thought were nicest. And for the most part, you're not really going to find a whole lot of these in original tubes that are worth sending in. We rejected more than we sent in. And even then, after you pay for grading fees, you're finding a lot of coins that are only worth about $50 with grading fees. And so that can be, you know, a little bit challenging for someone who actually wants to try to make money at what they're doing. But just in general, just the lesson here is, you know, cherry pick, be very picky on certain grades and certain years. So here we've got on the 85s, we got a pretty interesting mix, because we do have one that came back a very high grade in a 68. And these guys, they've graded over 10,000 of the 1985s. They're amongst the most available. So, but the 1985, the MS66 coins, over 6,000 of them have come back 66. So most of them have come back super high grade. And then you get into an MS68 grade where they've only graded 322 with only 7 finer. One of the things that stands out for me on this coin is from a distance, it definitely has a look to it that is much more clean. You know, it's not like the luster is better or more, it just appears that way because of the lack of contact marks on the coin overall. All right, and those guys, oh boy, way to do research, Ben. I know which coins I didn't look up price points on. Sweet bibbity. I'm going to assume that these are $50 type coins on the MS66s. That 68, I don't know if we're going to auction it or see kind of what they trade at. Even there with the pops where they're at, it sounds like it's probably a couple $100 or less. Lastly, we had a ton of 1993 onzas, and they almost all came back identical, but I wanted to show you just a handful of them to look at and just understand the difference in the combination of not just minting quality, but then also their overall plan on how to package and ship coins so they don't get all beat up. You can see that everything has a little bit more detail on these 1993s, including the edge design. Everything's a little bit more bold and crisp and clean. And then one of my favorite little elements that people don't normally notice is that she's holding some broken chains, which is kind of a cool design element. That's there on the old one too. That's what she's holding in her hands. So pretty cool. So we're going to look at a couple more of these guys. And once again, you have the same effect on this as you have on all the other coins. Even though these coins are the same grade, I would pick this coin in a heartbeat over this one because this one has a couple little spots to it. So almost every one of these 93s came back MS69. You know, you can just see that they, like a lot of modern coins, come nearly unblemished versus the coins from the mid-80s and earlier that were minted differently, shipped differently, packaged differently, the whole 9 yards. Ironically, the 93, there's only like 1,200 of these things graded, but 431 of them have come back MS69, so a third of them really, with 8 of them coming back 70s. Could you imagine that? These guys trade at like $110 to $120 on those guys. So anyways, guys, thanks for joining us today. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.